So we got some terrible news. We were all pumped about this weekend. Actually, as this video is airing right now, we should have been driving to Pennsylvania to get our engine tuned by Matt Happel from Sloppy Mechanics. Unfortunately, we can't go down there until we figure out who's going to jail. And I'm dead serious. We got some big problems. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of like that. Man, I just can't stop looking at it. Two Bennett's went on super easy. Skid plate has two purposes. One, it's going to trap all the heat from the exhaust in the exhaust and keep those turbo exhaust gases nice and hot. So I got a call from Jensen's Speed Shop, which is where we were going to get our engine tuned, and turns out that he got called in for jury duty on Monday. So the idea was we were going to drive down on Sunday morning, set the engine up, kind of get it figured out, get it at least idling on the engine dyno, and then spend all day Monday with Matt tuning it. So unfortunately, that's been postponed. We don't know what's going on. We found another shop that would tune the engine, but they were really expensive. So by the time we drive down there and pay for, it was $100 an hour to do that. It's just not in the budget right now. So right now I'm gonna carry on as if we're putting the engine in the car. I had everything kind of mocked up on the engine stand, but we can kind of leave that. I'll buy some more flanges and that for the wastegates and that. I'll leave that plumbing alone because someday we will blow up a LS on the dyno. We're gonna push it until, give it as much fuel and air until a rod bends or snaps or a head gasket or a head pops off, and that will happen. Matt was just as excited about doing it as we were. If we were also in a time crunch. So Matt also has access to an all-wheel drive dyno, so we're gonna get this car running, and even before we take it out on the track, we'll probably drag the whole car down to Pennsylvania and we'll tune it on the chassis dyno with Matt. We'll have a good video about that, and then next summer or this winter when we have some time, Matt's a super busy guy too, when we can get all our schedules together. It's not just my schedule, it's also Aaron's, the dyno shop, and Matt's schedule all have to sync together. We do have jobs and customers that we gotta take care of, so we can't just pack up and go whenever we feel like it or change plans on a whim. There's 4 or 5 of us involved now. So we apologize for that. We took the video down just because we didn't want to get everybody else as disappointed as we were. But yeah, anyway, I'll show you what we did on the car. So for engine management, I'm pretty excited that now we can just buy one of those OBD Bluetooth senders and use a tablet and an app, something like Torque, and check out all the engine management. Problem is we have a Windows New Vision tablet, 8-inch, that doesn't work with most of the, I don't think it works with Torque, and I'm kind of bound and bent on the Torque Pro version. I don't know if you guys know where to get a Samsung, or if you guys want to trade for a Samsung tablet. Just an 8-inch. I can sign the back of this one. It still has the sticker on it from when it's new. I'll clean it off there for you. But it is in actually really good shape. It's barely used. Unfortunately, it doesn't work for this. I'm gonna make a little bracket where I can mount it like this, and then just use Velcro to pull it on and off. If I don't like it on the steering wheel, I'll just make a little bracket somewhere else and then just stick around with Velcro. And just a magic time that we live in, that for 50 bucks you can have 100 different dashboards set up and all working wirelessly and magically in a race car. Here we go. So V&R gave us some aluminum, just some nice pans to make for skid plates or just for like the breather at the back, and I kind of like them. We'll probably use this as the engine skid plate. So if you see that, we're in trouble. Pedestrian crossing, we'll have to turn that into minimum. Thanks to V&R, really helping us out. We can never have too much aluminum, so here we go. Okay, so Aaron sent me a picture of a splitter at the front of an Audi and says, hey, I think this one will fit, but it's 400 bucks. And then he said, never mind, I don't think it'll fit. So probably the one we need is even more money than that. I don't know where he thinks we're getting our money from, because last time I checked the YouTube account, it's pretty low. As it's 0. What we got here is our old bumper from our parts car, which is cracked in a couple spots. But I figure if I just cut the bottom off, then attach this upside down to this that's already attached to our good bumper, we should be okay. And then I cut this top half off and then do something neat with the lights here thingy. I don't know, I'll figure that out. Then we can make our own splitter. The diffusers look pretty cool, and I got to drop the back of the bumper down anyway because we found these awesome little skirts off of Grand Am at the wreckers, and they fit pretty close. So I think I'll make a bracket in the corner here at the front and at the back, and then a little. I just got to bend up a little plate and rivet it to it all the way along, and then I can put a full skid plate underneath the whole car. Keep the exhaust up in the car where it'll stay nice and hot, which is actually better for the turbos. And then put diffusers at the back, which we'll make on our own, but I'll do that afterwards. I'm gonna make the splitter at the front for now, just kind of goofing off. It's late at night, just finished another project. It's about 10 o'clock. Just gonna cut that up real quick, throw some of those broken lights into the garbage. So I think the splitter at the front is more important than the diffuser at the back, but the diffuser just looks pretty cool. We'll worry about that afterwards, after we get the car moving and running under its own power. But for now, I'll just cut out this bumper and see what happens. Here we go. Well, honestly, the camera doesn't do it justice, but it's starting to not look like an Audi V8 anymore. I'm thinking with all this, we might have to paint it and not do the patina that we were thinking of, as much as I like the rust spots. That looks pretty friggin' awesome, I think. Anyway, it's late. The zip ties will hold that on there for the night. I'll figure something out in the morning. Here we go. There I go. Good night. Alright, so I cut out all of the clips that held the skirt in place on the Grand Am, and then I took this little piece of angle iron, which has a nice little bend in it. If it looks familiar, that's the door jamb off of an aluminum door. And it's got a nice little lip and a profile in it there for extra strength. And then I had these welded on, bent these to shape. This will support the bottom of the skid plate. Now this will drop the whole bottom of the car down just enough that I could run the exhaust right about here-ish, and then run a skid plate right underneath it, and they'll bolt right through and tighten into here. These are threaded in, and it'll be nice and stiff that way. And then as for the gap in the end there, I just bent up a plate in the same profile as the skirt. This will be pop riveted on here, and then we'll weld the back of this. It's a little crooked there, but we'll weld that, and then I can cut the profile into it, and this will run up into the wheel well and hold the front nice and secure. And I gotta make one for the back here yet, but once that's in, then the side skirts are pretty well ready to bolt on. I will drill lots of holes in here to line up the skirt with the trim. Then I'll take this little piece of trim, put it in the right spot on the rocker, drill all the corresponding holes, and then put this back on, glue this to the car, glue this to the bottom of the skirt, and then pop rivet that into the rocker, which is in fantastic shape as far as I can tell. I'm about to start grinding it, and hopefully that'll stay in place. So here we go. So looking at this, I'm gonna change my mind. I'm gonna pull that off, and I'm gonna fiberglass the corner of the car there, and then have it come down and kind of be a more gradual transition. And same with the back. I'm just gonna basically just curl it up onto the car. We'll do some fancy stuff with the rocker right there. When we originally looked at the car, I thought that maybe that was rocker guard, but that scraped off like a rubber, and that rocker is in perfect shape. It's kind of weird with the light, but that is all shiny steel and a brand new rocker all the way along front to back. A little bit of rust by the jack spot there. Not a big deal. To put it in perspective, this 28-year-old Audi with 400,000 kilometers on it is in better shape than my 05 Silverado, 15 years newer, and it probably has 250,000 kilometers on it. So kind of embarrassing for North American, and I'm really happy that I don't have to weld any new rockers in this. So here we go. Alright, finally got our transmission. Looks wonderful. Missing a shifter linkage and a release bearing. Working on that. Can't ever be easy. Now I gotta figure out how to put this twin disc McLeod. Hold on, it's coming. Anyway, there's two discs in here. I gotta figure out how to stuff this in here. Now it just hits, it's close. But you can see a little bit of red paint on there, just that little lip there, little lip here, and little lip here, which is actually strengthening for the holes, allow the bolt holes to go through. But we don't need that because we're actually cutting this bell housing off and putting a GM adapter on there. Just watch, hopefully it works. Alright, we got ourselves some goodies. Made a trip out to Tuesdays. Thank you for these sweet tips. These will be coming out the side skirts. I think it's just a little tack weld at the back here. We'll cut that off and then run our wastegates out the skirt. Then we've got another 4L60E. Surprise, surprise, it is no good. We need the bell housing. This will go over top of the Audi bell housing. The clutch discs are just about done. They put a new hub in the center of the clutch discs and machine the spline to fit the Audi input shaft. So we're getting closer there. Then I went to V&R. I love going to V&R because while I'm there I generally fix something, so they pay me and then they give me free stuff. So there's just some aluminum sheets. I'm sure these will come in handy. I'll probably make the skid plate out of this. It's super thin. Unfortunately they put it in the bin, so it already has a couple creases in it, but I can tap those out, not a big deal. I'll put a couple folds in it to make it strong so it doesn't vibrate like crazy. They will be going on the bottom of our car, and probably a section will be attached to the splitter here. Keep that nice and strong, and the skid plate has two purposes. One, it's going to trap all the heat from the exhaust in the exhaust, so the exhaust will run in between the bottom of the floor and the skid plate, and keep those turbo exhaust gases nice and hot. And we'll wrap those and put them in between. So we'll fold up some channel and then put the exhaust in between, and then the channel will hold the skid plates up. One thing I got to do to the car though is flip it upside down. So that'll be interesting. Probably before we get too much farther. That'll be coming up soon. We'll be using some dry ice to take all the rubber off. There's quite a bit, like a thick rubber on the bottom and on the inside of the floor as well, which is why the car is preserved so well. It's galvanized steel with a rubberized coating on it. But that one that adds weight, we were gonna leave it, but the figure we'll try it with some dry ice. Seen some good videos on that, so stick around for that. Two, I don't want it to catch fire because the exhaust is going to be there. It's going to get pretty hot. So, I'll probably take most of the stuff back out again. That's one of those things. The intercooler needs some welding done on the sides to support the side pieces, so I knew that was going to happen. We'll just take the front and the back bumper off, put it on the forklift and hoist or something somehow. Maybe a tractor, I don't know, we'll figure it out. I can't hurt this car though for flipping it upside down. So, we also have our fuel cell. Just a cheapy fuel cell here, nothing fancy, 15 gallon, which should keep us going for 20 minutes. We've got two 400 liter per hour Walbros that are going in, and what I have to do is mount these. So what I'm thinking of doing is I just took a little line like this and put a barbed fitting on it with a 1/4 inch pipe thread, and then I took a tap, if you can see that, and drilled out the center of that fitting and put a pipe thread on it. I'll lock that in there and then slide the pump on it, and then this will be facing towards the back. I took the foam out that's in here just while I'm drilling, and so I can keep everything perfectly clean. We'll put our socks on the pumps, keep them inside. Originally we ordered the pumps before we ordered the tank, and I figured there was only one pipe fitting coming out of the tanks, which is why the pumps are inside the tank. I figure I can put one of these things in there. This is actually off of the 64 truck. This was on there, so nice and light, and just put a couple pumps in here with one main out. I could have done that on the outside too. No, because I only had one fitting. Anyway, the pumps are inside the tank. This was a super cheap tank. It's 155 bucks. It doesn't have to last very long. So we're not too concerned about that. 2 pumps on the inside should give us our 800 horse. And then we'll go to the union on the outside here and bring one line to the front. I got to run the wires out because the wires aren't long enough. So I've got this wire here, which is just like normal industrial wire for wiring up greenhouses and houses and shops. Most of the wire, I forgot what I used this on. Anyway, it's got a Teflon coating on it, so this is safe for inside the fuel tank. I can peel that off if I wasn't holding the camera, but anyway, I'll probably drill a hole through this fitting, which comes with the tank, and then big enough for the wire, and then squeeze 2 pieces of rubber in between the taper fitting here and the taper fitting there, which will seal it and allow the wire to come through, which should work perfect. And then that is getting mounted in the trunk here. So we've got our height roughly figured out. I need to cut this lip off right here on the inside because the spare tire is all the way over to the right for some reason in between the frame rails, but I need it centered in the car, and then the exhaust will come out from the turbos right there through this little hump here, and then come out underneath on either side of the fuel tank there. The fuel tank will be dropped down slightly so that the tank is going to sit about this high into the trunk, and then weld some angle iron around it, and then cut it to size to fit the hole where the spare tire was. And then I'll run a little piece of aluminum just coming out and kind of curling up and putting all the air coming out the trunk lid at the back here. And then we'll probably end up doing some sort of diffuser thing at the back with some other cool tips from Tuesley. I gotta walk through his yard and see what kind of cool cars he's got there for some other neat tips. Okay, so I soldered and heat shrunk the connections on the wall bros, and the reason I did that is the heat shrink handles the gas better. And in case you're wondering, we've got some test subjects in the bottom of some gasoline. It's been in there for about a week. Pulled it out, looked good. We're gonna leave it in there for another month or 2 just to be sure, but reading up online, I did throw a butt connector in there just in case, but they said that the heat shrink holds the solder better. There's no chance of fires or anything inside the fuel tank because the vapors actually displace all the oxygen. You need oxygen to make a fire or an explosion. So the risk is actually very, very low. You need 14.7 parts of air to 1 part fuel, and that goes by weight, not by volume. So, which is why every single vehicle has an in-tank fuel pump. So we'll put these in and then or mount them roughly to where we want them. Secure the wires nicely so they don't get in the way of anything, and then we will start making our mount for the floor there. Here we go. Okay, so the plate's cut. Now the spare tire was off center because all the exhaust came out on that side. Now we'll have dual exhaust, but I'm still going to keep the tank slightly to the right, just enough to keep a muffler here on this side. If we need a muffler, we'll see. Because my weight in the driver's seat, we'll kind of put it in the opposite corner. We'll just slide it over just a little bit, and then we can put the battery once we figure out where the best weight is to keep the battery. So I'll cut a hole in there, we'll weld that to the side of the tank and drop the tank down, and then start our ductwork for our air-to-air that's coming out. So here we go. So I put the tip coming out the side of the skirt here, which will be so the exhaust will be running about this, the skid plate will be underneath it. After I cut the hole, I'm not sure if that's the best place for it. I probably should have had it back here just because of the noise, but I thought the pipe would be shorter, but I guess it doesn't matter because I just run off of the length of pipe anyway. Anyway, there's a hole cut in my skirt here, and that's where the exhaust is going. It doesn't hit my leg. I made sure of that when you're climbing in and out. And it only pops when the wastegate goes, so it shouldn't get too hot for the most part. So yeah, anyway, I'll go do the other side, and then we got a matching set. I'll see if Andy's got 2 or 3 or 4, 8 more of those, and we'll put those coming out the back for the exhaust. Should be pretty cool. So this cooler's off a Ford or a Dodge or something or other. I think this is Dodge. The longer, skinnier one is Ford. But anyway, this one's going right here, and these fins right here, and there's going to be another one right beside it, and these will, this will be the oil coming back from the turbos before it gets dumped back into the engine. So this will be the scavenge pump cooling this as it goes right back into the oil pan again. This will be covered up with fiberglass, I think. We'll cover this right solid, and then at the bottom of this we'll put just an aluminum, little pieces of aluminum on the bottom just to stiffen that up, and then we'll just put a couple rods in just to keep that all so we can adjust it, and it will actually run into the skid plate that's going to go right underneath the entire car. It does curl in a bit, which is kind of a dead spot, but this is also air. It's not actually a dead spot because this will go to the brakes, this slot right here, and that's actually built by Audi. That's already, all the plumbing's already there for that, and then the air will go through here, cooling the engine oil as well. So it's not a dead spot. It is using that air, and then it'll be coming up the tires afterwards. So okay, so this is the intercooler. As this is the bottom, this is the top. I cut this to size. This will go in between here. This cooler will be for the differential. The plexiglass, if you can imagine, comes like this. So we're gonna weld a little lip on it. It's hard to bend it that way. This is thicker steel because it's got to be a little bit robust. We'll put some thinner steel on an angle that'll take the flex out of this. We'll put these mounts on the back here for the rad itself, and then we'll put a couple legs going down, right down. These pegs actually line up nicely with the frame rail on the car. So the idea of that is to take all the weight and all that air pushing on all these fins will kind of make the car squat down and push down right on the back axle, and then we'll put a little plate just to kind of curl it up and make it escape out the trunk lid. So thanks for all your comments for that. Definitely coming out the back of the trunk lid. And then we're welding another little strip right here, which will attach. We'll weld a little strip along here, pop rivet this to that. This gets pop riveted to the window. This gets pop riveted to the plexiglass. All of that will be glued. It's gonna be magic, just gotta wait until everything's welded. I don't do the aluminum welding. I got a neighbor down the road who makes stretchers for a living, and he gets a kick out of welding all my odds and ends things. He just has a riot because he does the same welding all day, every day, so he enjoys doing the odd jobs. So I'm gonna go over there tonight, grab a couple beers, and see what happens. Here we go. All right, fuel tank mounting plates are welded. The intercooler here, we welded a lip down the side there, and then that will hold air filter assembly. We welded a couple blocks at the back of the plate, which I will drill and tap, and then to hold the air filter in place, I'll just put a wing nut, so that screw that holds the two air filter housings together, I'll just drill it out, put a longer bolt in there with a wing nut on it, then we can take the air filters out real easy. This is for the diff cooler, and then these plates at the back here will house the brackets. I don't know the right size yet, but those will be the brackets that go down to the frame rails, which will act hopefully like a wing, and all that air coming in off the ram will push down on this radiator. Hopefully it doesn't bend the shit out of it. I think we've got enough stuff on there to kind of keep it steady, and as long as we've got airflow coming out, as long as there's still the air has a way to get out of the car, I don't think we're worried about that. So anyway, thanks for watching again. There'll be a lot of stuff happening on it again this week. We got to get this car rolling. I think it's supposed to get really cold soon, so we got to get this car on the track. Hit the like button if you like the project, and if you think it's going to work. Whether it works or not, it's going to be a crazy ride one way or another. So here we go. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you love the channel, consider heading over to Patreon. There's a lot of stuff happening there to help support the channel. And remember, if you're not filthy, you're not rich.